Welcome to Liberty Park Music. I'm Michelle Huang, your piano instructor. In our last lesson, we learned how to sit at the piano, the proper hand position for playing, and the anatomy of your arms and hands to ensure that you're playing with the correct movements. In this lesson, we will learn some basic music fundamentals, such as being able to name all the keys on the piano, the 4 basic note values, and the 4 most commonly seen dynamic markings in any music scores. By the end of this lesson, you will have enough basic musical knowledge to play your very first piece. First, let's look into how to name all the keys on the piano. In our last lesson, we touched a little bit on naming few of the notes on the piano when we were talking about finger numbers. Here, we'll review what we talked about and continue to name the rest of the keys on the piano. As you probably gathered from our last lesson, piano keys are named for the first 7 letters of the alphabet. The key names are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These key names are then used over and over. The C nearest the middle of the piano is called middle C. It is to the left of the 2 black key group, right under the piano logo. Going up the keyboard, the notes sound higher and higher. Going down the keyboard, the notes sound lower and lower. Now let's begin at middle C using your right hand number 3 finger to move up the keyboard. Play and name each note as you go. Remember to keep your natural hand position with weighted arm. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You can continue to move up the keyboard and name the rest of the notes until you run out of notes. Now try the same thing with your left hand, using your left hand number 3 finger. Begins at middle C and move down the keyboard. Play and name each note, going backwards now in the alphabets. C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. You can continue to move down the keyboard and name the rest of the notes until you run out of notes. Now you can name all the keys on the piano. Let's talk about note values. Note values are how long you play each note. Every melody is composed of a series of long notes and short notes. You might know this better as rhythms. These rhythms identify the character of a piece or a song. In this lesson, we'll look at the 4 basic note values. They are quarter note, half note, dotted half note, and whole note. Each note value has a certain number of beats. As you can see in the diagram here, a quarter note gets 1 count. A half note gets 2 counts. A dotted half note gets 3 counts. and a whole note gets 4 counts. Now take a look at this rhythm exercise. First, notice how the bar lines divide the music into measures of equal duration. In this case, each measure has 4 counts or 4 beats. The double bar lines are used to indicate the end of a section or the piece. As you clap this rhythm, keep a steady beat going. For the long notes, which are half notes, dotted half notes, and whole notes, try to keep your hands together for the full value of the notes. For example, a half note would be 1, 2. A dotted half note, 1, 2, 3. A whole note, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's try this rhythm exercise. We will clap the rhythm together and count 1, 2, 3, 4 for each measure. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The key here is to keep a steady beat. Think of the regularity of your heartbeats or the clock ticking. Let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So far, you have learned finger numbers, how to name all the keys on the piano, and the 4 basic note values. Let's put it all together and play a short piece. Before you dig in and try your hands on this piece, observe a few things first. Ask yourself the question, is this piece written for your right hand or left hand? Typically, you can answer this question by looking at the music itself. You will notice that each note head has a stem pointing up. This usually means that the notes will be played by the right hand. You can also look for the abbreviation RH on the music, which stands for right hand. Notice that the first finger number is given to you. Now look for how many beats are in the measure and what combination of note values are in each measure. Is it all quarter notes in one measure, or some measures have a combination of half notes, dotted half notes, and or whole notes? The next thing is to observe the direction of the notes. You can do this measure by measure. For example, you'll probably notice in measure 1 and 3 that the notes are going up, and the notes in measure 2 and 4 are going down. Observe this ahead of time in your music can really help you learn the notes a lot quicker as you tackle any new pieces of music. Now let's find where to put your hand and start playing. First, locate middle C and place your right hand number 1 on it. Check your hand position, making sure your elbow and your wrist are slightly higher than the keys, and your arm is hanging loosely from the shoulder. Start from the beginning of the piece. Follow the note names that are given to you on the score. Count as you play. Remember to keep a steady beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, once or twice on your own. Remember to sink into each key with your arm as you play. We'll come back to this piece in a bit after we talk about dynamics. Dynamics tell us how loudly or softly to play. In addition, it's also a good indication of the character and mood of a particular phrase or section of a piece. For example, a loud dynamic can indicate that the music is to be played in a majestic or declamatory way. A soft dynamic can mean that the music is more introspective, more intimate, and sweeter in nature. Here's a list of the dynamic markings written in Italian that you will see in most music. Piano indicates soft. Mezzo piano is moderately soft. Mezzo forte is moderately loud. Forte is loud. You can play a note louder by a bigger movement of your arm, by sinking into the keys more and faster. This will force the hammers to hit the strings faster, so to create a bigger and louder sound. The other side of that coin is that you can play a note much softer by a smaller movement of your arm, sinking into the keys less and slower. Now try playing the 4 different dynamics, paying close attention to your arm movements and the speed you strike the keys. Let's use right hand number 3 on middle C. Start with forte. Prepare to play the note by slightly raise your hand, wrist and forearm. Then drop your arm quickly and sink all the way to the bottom of the keys to sound the note. You should hear a very full and loud sound. Now try this with the other 3 dynamics. Lighten up the movement and slow down the drop motion each time as you attempt to play softer. Mezzo forte. Mezzo piano. Piano. Now let's go back to the previous piece. Find your starting position again. And play this piece as you have before, but now also adding in the dynamic markings. Review your arm movements as you play. Remember to play forte or mezzo forte. Your arm has to sink into the keys faster. To play piano or mezzo piano, your arm sinks into the keys slower. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. In this lesson, we have learned how to name all the keys on the piano using the first 7 letters of the alphabet. We also learned the 4 basic note values and the 4 dynamic markings. In our next lesson, we'll look into more music fundamentals, such as time signatures, intervals, octaves, and accidentals. We will also learn how to read notes on the grandstaff, and you will be playing more pieces using these new musical concepts. See you in your next lesson.